in danger, perhaps, of being maybe too specific of the different levels within each domain in Trialectics. I'm going to not be overly sharp on the distinctions, but I think these sort of generalizations could help in formation. Potentially, like one element that I see that could be positive about sort of a trialectical system is that, well, I mean, unlike perhaps the Venus project that almost requires complete demolition of the old to re-establish the new, I think that there's like transitionary phases that could happen within Trialectics, and therefore you wouldn't need to completely demolish the old. It's a work in progress, rather, to form something that we collectively envision, sort of, more so potentially than the Venus project, where it's sort of pre-designed and then we fit into that mold. There's dangers, I believe, with that in smart design, because to demolish the old, which we might sort of do anyways, there's like, you know, quandaries with potentially like population reduction or these sorts of things. So maybe that's, but like I believe with trialectical models, you can kind of slowly nudge towards a more holistic approach. So something that I've been working on this evening is division within each of those three sectors. So just to remind you, the three kind of economic domains / governmental domains, which are self-governed, which we do the governing, is resource shares, heart shares, and mind shares. Okay, so you got, if you need more refreshing on that, go back to my first video on those distinctions. Okay, so within the resource shares, I was kind of envisioning three major different domains, and again, it would all be, you would get resource shares for each of them. It's just that they would be distinguished potentially, so that people would have easier navigability within it, so that, you know, when you're getting educated, you kind of choose a particular domain. But I'm hoping that this would foster more of a full-out kind of educational process that attempts to self-actualize, that attempts to become sort of your own philosopher, and then which helps to become like a specialist in some sort of technical domain. Ideally, I mean, we're all not going to do that, but you know, hopefully it fosters that capability, sort of thing. So within the resource shares, I'm envisioning something like the need for agricultural, primarily, industrial, and informational. Roughly, this is just to put it out there. So so agricultural, one version that I see highly connected to everything else could be something like a permacultural approach, because it has a very dynamic systems design that again has people care, earth care, fair share-ish kind of motto to it. So it's in itself a refractive element, a holonic refraction of all the other domains in a sense. So a good positive start. Fits very well with the kind of Venus project-esque model, resource-based-esque model. So I think that could be, you know, a nice starting element. There's lots of research, there's lots of ideas in that domain. But that would fit in with maybe sort of an integral city-ish design. So that's a second sort of level, industrial, where we design systems and cities that are highly adaptive to the environment, that are functionable in the long term, that minimize waste, that are highly sustainable. Again, fits very well with the Venus project. Almost no distinction, but there's the main distinction here, I think, is that it allows us to slowly move into the model instead of dramatic demolishment of the present day system and then jumping into sort of the Venus project system. So it's like, you know, slowly we're adapting to our climate, making it more regional. What's good within our region? How does it interconnect with other regions and these sorts of things? Marianne Hamilton, although I might not agree with everything she says, and maybe her political views and that sort of thing, potentially. I think that she's got some really good ideas from what I've heard and listened to and a little bit that I've read regarding that. And that, again, can be fashioned nicely into the Venus Project and the design models, the industrial element that is inherent within that system. The third level within the resource-based one might be something like informational robotics. So you have sort of the centralized informational hub, and these are the people roughly managing, coordinating, working on the high-level technologies and expertise within that domain, hands-on, interactive with robotic, silicon-based, whatever robots. And that's going to feed back down into the industrial design, how we build our cities, and hopefully, into even the permacultural, agricultural domain, how, maximizing growth in sort of a natural way, in sort of a bright green, inclusive of the animals and plant life and all these systems that need to dynamically interact. Okay. Now, so the heart share would be similar there too. Again, you could be earning credits in any of these, but so you have these heart shares, and the primary level in some sense would be sort of handling your impulses. We all have these impulses that kind of naturally arise, so we need sort of education to healthily respond and understand these. So we have novel understandings within sort of psychotherapy, kinesthetic body movement, healthy eating programs, these sorts of things. So there's an education domain primarily focused on the physiological needs, the impulsive needs of the being, how we can fully live into that. And then there's maybe education for the sort of mental sphere interaction with the mental domain. So something maybe like high use of Facebook-ish technologies, gaming technologies that allow us to coordinate and maximize healthy qualities of the we space. So people are still probably going to play, shooting games and these sorts of things, but the kind of place from which we foster the goodness is where you would get heart share. So teachers, I think, would play a big role in that domain, potentially. Steiner's Waldorf school approach might be something that's useful there. And many other things, but that's just, and legislation, we're legislating these ideas, so the people that have the most heart shares are going to be the ones doing, presenting systems of how we should interact, and then, agreed upon through the other domains. They're always held in balance. And then the third level might be something like a wisdom forum, and they can foster, collective values, what was traditionally held as religions, but now are understood through the lens of science. There's still going to be traditional movements, and this maybe fosters a kind of conveyor belt of understanding, wisdom. Commons, with the commons, the meshworks, again, could be highly internet interactive based stuff. And then I'm going to go over my 10 minutes here. And then within the mind shares, you have again sort of 3 levels. The first one, again, these are broad. These are just ways to maybe think about it, maybe clarify where we could be going with this. Feedback would be nice. But so you have the kind of primary level, which would be innovative ideas that augment the industrial base. So how we can do design better, how we can augment anything within sort of maybe that industrial base. And then, does that make sense? I hope. And then the next level would be sort of how we can legislate things better. How, like, you're not the legislator, but you're coming up with creative ideas to enhance legislation. So it's visioning, revisioning these models constantly. So they're always in flex, always in flow, and interacting with the other systems. And you're kind of envisioning ways that would enhance the we space from a mental realm, contemplative realm even. And then the highest one would be, or not highest, just another domain would be sort of the art for art's sake. I had some other ideas, but they're not coming to me. Well, contemplation techniques. Integrators of all things, better ways of doing everything. Yeah, like writers, maybe even musicians, which depends. You know, a lot of the stuff, multidisciplinarians, a lot of the stuff would and could mesh, and that's part of the educational process. You want that to be flood over, superabundance in all areas and all places, so that we can live more rich and full lives. Part of this is, though, to help, you know, people aren't going to be good at everything, so you're probably still going to kind of want to specialize in something. But important to note this, like what the Zeitgeist movement says, when you eliminate kind of the needless jobs through automation, through robotics, through intelligent systems, you're eliminating kind of the need to do those mindless work. You could still do some if you wanted, but you're eliminating the requirement to do them. So you are placed in now a role that can be more expressive of who you want to be and what you want, self-actualizing roles in whatever domain you choose to engage with primarily, but that spills off from the other domains. That's why you have three economies, because they're all working at the same time. You're getting from each. Holes, I know there are. Tell them to me. Please.